Good morning, folks. How are we this morning? It's really early here in the Mermaid Lounge. It is 6:59. You're having coffee with me. So today I want to talk to you. I spent all day yesterday, literally. By the time I went to bed last night, and I went early because I was dead, my eyes were so tired from looking at this screen that I just could not keep them open anymore. But I spent the entire day trolling through the internet in various sources and trying to pull together information to make you understand what's going on in this country. Now, I'm going to say this, and, there are going to be some people out there who are going to just, not want to accept this fact. But the right wing in this country is virulent, well-funded, and determined to bring this nation back to the free market federalism stage of life. They have gotten to the point where they are so adept at propaganda and public relations that they've sucked in people from the left. And they've done this using the COVID virus. They've done this by talking about something that's near and dear to every lefty's heart, and that includes me. It's called freedom. But what they're talking about is freedom for only a select group of people. They're talking about your individual freedom. And that's the hook that everybody gets caught on. Your individual freedom says you shouldn't have to wear a mask. But while they're talking about all of this nonsense, they are filing bills to oppress other people's rights, say women, people of color. And actually, right now, with all of this mask bullshit, they are putting children at risk nationwide. More than 500,000 children have tested positive for coronavirus after returning to school this year. In Massachusetts, the parents in several states have chosen to homeschool their children because they believe there should be a remote option. And I agree. But the fact of the matter is that Charlie Baker, our Republican governor, has decided to run for re-election. So while he bucked the Trump administration, he doesn't have to worry about that anymore because Trump's not in. What he's concerned with is pandering for votes. This is how all of this works, okay? Now we have the parents in this state demanding remote with what's going on here. So we're going to talk today, and I'm not going to give you, I'm giving you broad brush strokes of this whole situation. We're going to talk to you today about an enterprise called ALEC. You may remember that acronym. It was spoken about quite a bit in 2016, 2017. You might think that they've gone away because no one really talks about them anymore. Now, I'm not talking about the people who exposed them because they're still at it. I'm talking about the general public who has had their attention drawn away from reality. Okay? With all of this nonsense talk about individual freedom. I am not stating that individual freedoms aren't important, okay? Because I'm gay. My child is trans. But your individual freedom lives in a bigger zone than just you, okay? What you do affects others. And no matter what anyone tells you, this government is charged with protecting the public health. It has been that way forever. They've got you convinced that it isn't that way. So we're going to talk about that today. And not just in the context of Corona. We're going to talk about ALEC, which is actually the American Legislative Exchange Council. And it is just that. It is a corporate bill mill. That's the way you need to look at it. So what is ALEC? It's an organization that is, I'm not even going to say overwhelmingly a right-wing organization. It is damn near 100% right-wing. Now, how does this work? It's very insidious. It works within the state framework. Okay? It works within the state framework. Everything it does is to benefit corporations. The bills it files benefits the corporation. Okay? We keep talking about all the corporations. We keep talking about, oh, Amazon, oh, Jeff Bezos. But we ignore this. We ignore this entity, which is basically the crux of fucking everything that goes on in this nation. All right? So, who funds ALEC? A, corporations. ExxonMobil. They've spent a lot of money funding ALECs to discourage climate change discussions, to make climate change a fake thing. It's not real. Trade associations. Now, we're not talking about unions here. We're talking about trade associations. People allied to the automobile industry. Foundations. Okay? Largely, ALEC is the brainchild of the Charles G. Koch Foundation, which still lives and still pours money into ALEC. In spite of the fact that the Koch brothers are either dead, I know one of them's dead, maybe the other one's dead now too, I really don't care. The fact of the matter is their foundation lives on. The Tea Party Patriots Foundation. So these are the entities that fund ALEC. And what do they do with this money? These are not the only people involved. Senators, state senators mostly, politicians within the states spend a couple of $100 a year to become members, to be on their task forces. And what they do is they take these people, these state senators go on junkets, and they all discuss legislation in their states, and they share the bills with each other so that they can be adapted for use in their states. Now, back in the day, I'm just going to say this. I have been studying the right wing for a very long time. Okay, as I said, I'm gay. I have had my rights adversely affected by people, my individual rights and my family's rights. I have a vested interest in this. I have a transgender child. And I have said since the 90s, and even before that, before I really got active on the internet, that they were very determined and they would take whatever time it took to make this country theirs. And that would mean that there would be only rights for a certain bunch of people and the rest of us would be oppressed. And I still stand by that. It's going on right now. So let's talk about it. Back in the day, what kind of bills was ALEC involved in? Anybody remember the Stand Your Ground laws, which is also something that nobody talks about? When the NRA was king, and by the way, this shit's still going on. But in state by state by state, it's very hard to take a bite out of the national bill situation, okay? They work insidiously, until something becomes so big. It's like having tentacles. I can't tell you. I had 50, 60 tabs up yesterday. I'm not going to give those all to you, Okay, but I will put what needs to be put in this video. You people need to really fucking look at this. Okay? So, what they do is they spread it so much within the states that it becomes a national issue. And you're going to see that with the abortion bills. We're going to talk about that later. But right now, the stand your ground laws. In some states, it requires you, a stand your ground law, if you are, say, being threatened by somebody, you have a gun. This is all allied to guns, okay? The reason Trayvon Martin was killed was because there was a stand your ground law. And in that state where Trayvon Martin was killed, there was no requirement within that stand your ground law for you to back off if you were no longer in danger. In some states, you do have to back off. Not there. In some states, it doesn't matter whether the threat is over or gone. You can still shoot to kill. ALEC was behind getting those bills passed. The right to work laws that have infiltrated these states, and these are all, by and large, states with Republican governors, Republican legislatures. The right to work laws, who's stopping your right to work? This is basically union busting. The unions aren't stopping your right to work. They're protecting you in the workplace. I used to work for Starbucks. I can tell you that we needed a union. And they still do, and they still don't have one, except I believe in the state of California. You do not realize how much you need a union until you're working an hourly wage job. The right to work law makes it sound like the unions are preventing you from working. You have a right to work. You have a right to slave labor. ALEC was behind those bills. They're called cookie cutter bills. Worked in the state of Texas. I'm going to do that in Florida. So what is ALEC involved in today? We're going to start a lot of this has been emboldened by the Trump administration. In 4 short years, that man has destroyed this country. Whether you want to believe it or not, he has destroyed this country. He has opened the fucking floodgates. All right, he has opened the floodgates on misinformation. He has attacked science. He has attacked teachers. You know, I remember when Ronald Reagan was president. Anybody who ever watched the Challenger documentary on Netflix? The reason Krista McAuliffe was chosen was Ronald Reagan referred to teachers as America's finest. And I'm not extolling Ronald Reagan's virtues, but teachers were perceived very differently than they are now. And a lot of this has been done because of right-wing propaganda. Betsy DeVos was a primary agent of that nonsense. Here are the bills that ALEC has been behind. And I will provide evidence of all of this. Number 1, the anti-critical race theory bills that are sweeping the nation on a state-by-state basis. Preventing teachers, school administrators, and the educational system from teaching the truth about slavery and our history. To continue the myth of white supremacy, essentially. Okay? The voter suppression laws. Georgia, Alabama, all of these states that are passing all of these voter suppression laws designed to prevent people of color from getting to the polls and voting. To ensure that just the right people win. The white people. That just their rights are protected. What could be worse than denying someone the right to vote? And yet they do it. That's what these laws are designed to do. I don't care what they're calling these laws. The fact of the matter is that's what these laws are designed to do. They favor one group of people over another. And that usually means the wealthy and the white versus the poor and the people of color. The abortion laws, Mississippi at 15 weeks. Now we have Texas at 6 weeks. All of these are cookie cutter laws. We now have at least 7 other GOP-led states that are interested in passing the same kind of law that Texas just passed. And by the way, a doctor just performed an abortion. A doctor, by the way, who has delivered 10,000 babies. Okay, he is a healthcare provider. He just performed an abortion outside of the 6 weeks requirement, and he spoke out about that. He did not hide, he did not run, he did not lie. He said he had a duty to perform this procedure on this woman because she is guaranteed this right within the first trimester, and she is. That is a fact. It is a right that is constitutionally guaranteed. He has now, it was announced last night, been sued, which is how they intend to enforce this, because they know they can't enforce this law in the state of Texas without having a court strike it down. So what they have done is they've created literally citizen bounty hunters. He has now been sued because that is the process. The woman is not in danger of being sued. The doctor is going to be sued by another citizen who is basically spying on your health, so he can be so they can sue a doctor for $10,000, get the cash in their legal fees returned to them. This is how this is working. It's a threat to the profession itself. Now there are 7 other states interested in this. Don't, and please don't start with well, it doesn't affect me. I live in Massachusetts. I live in Massachusetts. It's probably never going to change here. But this affects all fucking women. It affects all women. You don't live on this planet alone. You don't live in this country alone. Women owe other women a debt of loyalty. And eventually, this will be heard by the Supreme Court. It was also announced yesterday that the Supreme Court will hear the 15-week bill from Mississippi. That was the original challenge because that happened before the 6-week bill in Texas, which the Supreme Court allowed to go into effect on September 1st, even though they were requested to stop it until this 15-week bill could be heard. They did not. They let it go through. Justice Breyer considered that a huge miscarriage of the Supreme Court's decision-making. So now they're going to hear the 15-week bill, and people are saying, oh, they won't, they're not going to overturn Roe v. Wade. The Supreme Court right now has a 6-3 supermajority in the ultra-conservative side, and that was done purposely. It was packed by Donald Trump. Anybody telling you that Joe Biden is going to pack the Supreme Court? It's already been packed by Donald Trump. People who are assuming that the Supreme Court's going to do the right thing when they issue their decision in the spring need to wake up. They didn't just do the right thing with Texas. They may not do the right thing with Mississippi. All of this has been started by the American Legislative Exchange Council. This is what they do. And now, turning back public health powers state by state. Governor DeSantis filing a bill banning mask mandates, preventing schools from caring for their students. Same thing in Texas, Governor Abbott, banning mask mandates. Back and forth to court as you jockey for political position on the backs of the lives of children in this nation. 500,000 kids already diagnosed with COVID. Kids who are not eligible for the vaccine yet. Slowly, state by state, the legislation that's being filed is preventing the public health departments in those states from carrying out measures designed to protect the public health. These measures have been in place forever. All of this natural immunity shit that's being promoted is false medical information. The Tea Party Patriots Foundation, which funds ALEC, which donates to ALEC, is also behind this group called America's Frontline Doctors. None of these doctors have been on the front line of the COVID illness. Not a fucking one of them. Simone Gold, who leads the organization, was arrested at the insurrection. She lost her job in 2 emergency rooms because of it, and rightfully so. They are behind the misinformation surrounding COVID to a very large degree. Dr. Stella Emanuel is a member of America's Frontline Doctors. She is also a preacher. She claims to have cured 350 people with hydroxychloroquine, but we can't find any evidence of that. She hasn't produced any evidence of that. Without evidence, there is no truth. Not in the medical profession. Without scientific evidence, there is no truth. So now we take it a step further and we prevent public health organizations from doing their jobs. People need to wake up here. You are not talking about your rights. That is not what is going on here. They had measures in place when smallpox was ravaging this nation. And as soon as they got smallpox under control, they rolled back those things. This isn't about taking people's rights away. This is about protecting everybody's health, including the right-wingers, who are dying off in droves. I can't tell you how many pastors and radio show hosts who have spread bullshit about COVID are dead now. We're talking about 8 or 9. And it would be one thing if all we were doing were killing off the right-wingers. But they're taking innocent people with them. Chris Christie just went to his nephew's bar mitzvah. No masks, no social distancing, tons of people. They have created an outbreak. Do people not get this yet? 670,000 people dead in the United States alone. In a nation that, whether you want to believe it or not, actually has a very high level of health care. Maybe not the best health delivery system, but the knowledge and the science and the technology to protect people. And we have 670,000 people dead here. Mississippi, Governor Tate Reeves, who talks about the slippery slope of masks. Another ALEC supporter. Another state where ALEC has infiltrated. His state is now the most deadly state in the nation. He has 72 unborn babies dead from COVID. He has a rising expectant mother rate infected with COVID and dying from COVID. But he's a pro-lifer. If he were a country, he would be the second highest in deaths per capita, right behind Peru. You know, everybody in this nation rails on the corporations, but they do nothing about it, and they count on you doing nothing about any of this. What do you do about this? You do what they're doing in Massachusetts. The parents are now done. They're demanding. They're out there and they're demanding. Are women going to wait for all of this abortion stuff to be decided in April before they get out there? In Texas, they're out there. It's already done in Texas. Governor Abbott is supposedly losing all kinds of support. You know what? You can remove him from office. You can vote him out. Where there is an alternative, do it. Don't sit at home. You know, at one point, we as a group thought that not voting was a way to disavow the system. That would be great if everyone did it. The fact of the matter is, the right always shows up at the polls. Always. That's their inroad. And they make it work. The left, we're much more passive, and we need to stop being passive. There is an alternative. You think that Marjorie Taylor Greene is not your problem? She is your problem. Yes, she is from the state of Georgia, but she is not a state rep. She is a federal senator, a person who affects all of the voting in this country, who affects all of the legislation. Lauren Boebert, all of the legislation. She's not just a state senator. The state senators are bad enough. They're playing footsie with ALEC. These other people are on a federal level. There are alternatives running against her. The people down there need to get the hell out and do something about it. She is a national embarrassment. She is a white supremacist. By ignoring ALEC and its reach, we are ignoring a very big part of what's going on here. There are, of course, I'm going to read something to you, corporations who have left ALEC. They have, because of everything that's going on, they have not given any money to ALEC in 2021. There are several. Let me see if I can find that tab here among the many that I have up. And by the way, let me just say this. The Center for Media and Democracy has done a great job exposing ALEC for what it is, I must say. I am also going to put the ALEC, website in here for you to take a peek at. Some of I'm looking at SourceWatch has done a great job looking at ALEC. I also need you to pay attention to FreedomWorks. They're instrumental in the American Legislative Exchange Council. You will remember that they were big during the Bush administration. Companies like Pfizer have pulled out. They no longer provide money to ALEC. They do not belong to ALEC. Their money has been traced, and they have indeed not provided any money to ALEC this cycle, this year. There are a lot of them that have pulled out. Let's see what we got here. I'm having a hard time finding this because, I've got like 60 tabs. A group like ALEC is an assault on democracy. Let's see. The Bradley Foundation, another virulent foundation. Insurance companies are another example of people who get involved with ALEC. Hang on a second. Don't go away. I believe there are. This is not only in SourceWatch, but there is a section in the Center for Media and Democracy has done a great job exposing ALEC. So here are the companies who have refused to become members of ALEC in the future and are not members right now. First Solar, Pfizer, Dominion, Mary Kay, J.C. Penney, Boehringer Ingelheim, Comcast, Takeda Pharmaceuticals, AT&T, Dow Chemical. So many of these companies have pulled out probably from pressure from their supporters, the people who buy from them. American Traffic Solutions, Amazon, they decided not to renew its membership in 2012. Johnson & Johnson. So many of these companies, once ALEC is exposed, and once they are exposed as being proponents of ALEC, have managed to pull themselves out. And this is a good thing, but there are plenty of other corporations who continue on to fund ALEC, and it's evident they're already behind 4 of the biggest oppressive legislative moves done on a state-by-state basis in this country. It is time, folks, for the American people to stand up. We talk about this all the time. We talk about, corporate this and corporate that. You know what? We feed into that. We buy. We are consumers. All of us. That's how we get along. We have to be. But we don't have to buy from certain groups. We can stop. Okay? We can stop. I no longer buy from Amazon. I could care less about Amazon. They're not even on I don't even have my membership. I shut down everything. I don't stream any movies on Amazon. I don't do anything. I don't own cable. Okay? What little streaming I do, basically, I do in the middle of the night. I have YouTube Premium. That's the only thing. I don't have YouTube TV. I have YouTube Premium. So I have no commercials in what I'm watching on YouTube. And yes, I have been shut down by YouTube as well. But you know what? I also believe there is a responsibility for YouTube to shut down medical misinformation. I believe that private enterprises have a right to determine what's on their site. I do not allow medical misinformation on any of my groups on Facebook or on my timeline. I don't have to give you that. I'm not your free speech zone. Your free speech zone is on the street. You can go on a street corner and yell all the medical misinformation you want. No one can shut you down as long as you're not blocking traffic. Okay? I know, I've been out there. Okay? But I believe with 670,000 plus people dead in this country, that by and large, medical misinformation has contributed to that. We are not dying because this pandemic is out of control. It's out of control because of our behavior. So that is it. That is ALEC in a nutshell. They are controlled. I believe right now you would have to understand that ALEC is more in control of the ideological foundations than the corporations, but the bills that they are passing benefits corporate America, or they wouldn't be buying membership into it. This is the way it works. I am going to give you, all of the Source Watch and the Center for Media and Democracy exposés. There is a Center for Media and Democracy site that is from 2016, 2017 that's not been updated, but they have a whole new site. I'm going to put both of those sites in so you understand the history of ALEC as well. I will talk to you guys later. I am off to the mines today, and I want to try to get this up before I go. It's time to wake up, folks. Seriously. I'll talk to you soon.